Welcome back. During last week's broadcast, I shared a little bit of information about the state's guidance on returning to school, as well as some of the work we are doing locally to plan for the 2021 school year. As a reminder, we recently conducted a number of focus groups representing students, families, employees, and other education stakeholders. We've also convened 9 task forces who have organized their work around the feedback we received from our stakeholder focus groups. These task forces, which are comprised of approximately 150 young learners, parents, teachers, administrators, and other support staff, are currently reviewing specific guidelines for schools from the state and incorporating this information into our plans for reopening our schools locally. Now I'd like to let you know how we have organized our task force work, as well as a few other details about our efforts, including how we plan to reach out to parents and families in the next few weeks. We realize that many of you want to know exactly what we will be doing during the months ahead, but we simply aren't at that stage of our planning process yet. We have targeted our July 9 school board meeting as a date to formally publish the plan, but the actual publication date might be before or after that. I should also add that regardless of what emerges in the plans we develop for reopening schools, we do expect those plans to change after we return to school. And I ask for flexibility from everyone about the changes that we believe are inevitable in this dynamic situation. So now I will describe the specific work that each task force has been addressing. One of the major themes that emerged from the focus groups is that our plans should look different for students of different ages and stages of development. 3 of our task forces are working to address planning for 3 different groups of learners. One focusing on our younger learners up to grade 3, a second focusing on learners in grades 4 through 7, and a third focusing on our oldest learners, those in 8th grade or above. Each of these task forces have divided themselves into sub-task forces that are focusing on specific issues, including the safe and healthy operations of schools and school-related operations, such as transportation and nutrition, considerations for any in-person summer learning opportunities, as well as learning plans for the fall, including calendars, schedules, curriculum, and options for delivering in-person, remote, or blended learning, as well as career and technical education, co-curricular and extracurricular programming. Another task force is addressing the social emotional needs of learners across all ages and grade levels, as well as our employees. One specific area of focus within this task force is assigning our learners a dedicated coach or advisor who would be available to guide and assist both students and parents throughout a school year, and potentially for multiple years. We believe that this advisor or coach is mostly necessary for older students who have multiple teachers in a given school year, as well as those who may be learning remotely for a significant amount of time. Although we believe the best educational plan includes some amount of in-person learning experiences, we recognize that some families may prefer a 100% remote learning option. So another task force is focusing on developing this option for students at all levels. We also recognize that one of the largest challenges to much of the work ahead of us is the availability and affordability of high-speed internet in homes. And we have a task force that is working to improve both availability and affordability as we move forward. As we talk about the work of the 6 task forces I just mentioned, we clearly see a need to ask teachers and other employees to approach learning and related functions in new and different ways. Although we feel like many of our teachers and other employees are ready to pivot in fundamentally new directions, we also believe that many others will need significant training and support. As a result, we have a task force that is focused on specific training needs related to the work of the other task forces. The 7 task forces I just introduced will all be formulating plans that impact our employees and our budget. So we have another task force that will be addressing any work with financial or personnel implications. Regardless of what exactly emerges from the work of the task forces, we believe that we need a clear way of communicating this work to students, families, employees, and the broader community, as well as a way to solicit specific information and feedback from the families that we serve. So our final task force is working to develop a number of strategies to keep our stakeholders informed throughout the days and weeks ahead. In fact, the content for these broadcasts are being developed by this task force. The 150 members of these 9 task forces are doing amazing work, and I am confident that we will produce a plan that balances health and safety with the need to return to school. However, in order to make this plan as effective as possible, we need to connect with the families that we serve to understand individual needs while also collecting important information that will inform our planning. So, during the next few weeks, we will be calling all of our families, and we really hope that you will talk to us about your current situation, as well as your thoughts about the upcoming school year. If you are a parent or guardian, we want you to be on the lookout for a call from one of our schools, and also to know some of the questions we'll be asking. First, we will be asking if you feel comfortable sending your children back to school this fall. You may not feel like you know enough to make that decision right now, but we're still interested in what you're currently thinking. If you don't feel comfortable sending your children back to school right away, we also want to know if you're interested in a 100% remote learning experience, something that we will be providing as an option for all learners this fall. We will also ask if you have a reliable, high-speed internet connection in your home. And we're also interested to learn if you are able and willing to drive your children to and from school so that we can adhere to guidelines that will limit this number of students we can safely transport on school buses. We'll ask a few other questions too, but I wanted all families to be aware of the types of questions they can expect when we call in the next few weeks. For those who may not be a parent or guardian of a Bedford County student, we also welcome your suggestions about the reopening of schools, and we've set up a dedicated email address, reopening.suggestions@bedford.k12.va.us, that will allow all of our task forces to consider multiple ideas and suggestions. The final item I'll share is just how thankful I am for the hard work and dedication of all of our task force members, most of whom are volunteering their time and energy to this work. Although we could certainly develop plans without 150 participants in these task forces, we don't believe our final product would be as viable or effective without the diversity of voices and ideas that we currently have contributing. I would also add that each task force has at least one student and one parent among its members, as we believe these perspectives are critical to this work. Please continue to monitor these broadcasts, as well as our BCPS website and social media outlets for the most up-to-date information about returning to school. On next week's broadcast, we will be joined by the facilitators of our task forces, and each will be providing an update on their work. This will not be the detailed plan that we hope to have ready by the second week of July, but you will learn about many of the basic design principles that will form the foundation of how we return to school. Parents and guardians, please be ready for a phone call from us in the next 2 weeks. It is so important that we hear from you. Thank you for tuning in today, and please stay safe.